Amma saw the old woman fall into the road, just as a bus came rushing toward her. Her basket of oranges rolled everywhere. People shouted. Cars blew their horns. Amma looked at the time on her phone. Her biggest job interview would begin in only 20 minutes. If she stopped, she could lose everything she had worked for. But Amma ran toward the woman. Before we continue, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tell me in the comments where you are listening from. Listen until the end, because what happened to Amma that day changed her life forever. And when the story ends, please share your thoughts in the comment section. That morning, Amma had left her small room before sunrise. She lived in Accra with her younger brother, Kofi. Their parents had died many years before, so Amma had become like a mother to him. For 3 years, she had worked in a tiny shop and saved every coin she could. But today was different. A large company had invited her for a final interview. The job paid more money than Amma had ever earned. Before she left home, Kofi hugged her. "You will get it," he said. Amma smiled, but she had no idea what was waiting on the road. Amma wore the best clothes she owned. Her white shirt was old, but clean. Her black shoes had small cracks, but she had polished them until they shone. Inside her bag was her degree certificate and the last copy of her CV. The company building was far away, so Amma took a bus to the city center. She kept looking at the time. The interview was at 9 o'clock. At 8:35, she got off the bus. She had only a short walk left. Then she heard a loud crash behind her, and that was when she saw the old woman. The woman had been pushing a wooden cart filled with oranges, bananas, and mangoes. One wheel had broken near the edge of the road. The cart turned over. Fruit rolled under cars. The old woman tried to catch the cart, but she slipped and fell. People walked around her. Some stared. Some laughed about the fruit rolling down the street. Amma looked at her phone. 8:40. She could still reach the interview if she kept walking. Then the old woman tried to stand. Her legs shook. She fell again. Amma stopped. What should she do? Amma looked toward the tall office building in the distance. Then she looked back at the woman. The old woman was sitting on the ground. Dust covered her wrapper. Her hands were shaking. Amma thought about her brother. They needed money. Their rent was late. Kofi needed school books. This job could change everything. "Please," the old woman whispered. Amma closed her eyes for 1 second. Then she ran back. She lifted the woman away from the road just before another car passed. But the broken cart was still lying there. And Amma's interview time was getting closer. "Are you hurt?" Amma asked. "My knee," the woman said softly. Amma helped her sit beside a small shop. Then Amma ran into the road and began picking up the fruit. A young man shouted, "Sister, leave those things! You will dirty your clothes!" Amma ignored him. She collected oranges. She picked up mangoes. She pulled the broken cart away from the road. Her white shirt became dusty. One orange burst under her shoe and stained her trousers. Amma checked her phone again. 8:52. Her heart jumped. Only 8 minutes remained. The old woman watched her quietly. "Why are you helping me?" she suddenly asked. Amma looked at her. "Because you needed help," Amma said. The woman stared at Amma for a long moment. Then she asked another strange question. "Where are you going?" Amma wiped sweat from her face. "I have a job interview." The woman looked at the clock hanging inside the nearby shop. "Then you are already late." Amma's stomach tightened. "Yes," she whispered. "You should go," the woman said. But when she tried to stand, she cried out in pain. Amma could not leave her like that. What would Amma choose now? Amma called a taxi. When it arrived, She helped the old woman inside. "Please take her to the clinic," Alma told the driver. The driver shook his head. "Who will pay?" Alma opened her purse. She had only enough money for her ride home and lunch. She slowly gave the driver almost all of it. The old woman looked surprised. "You do not even know me," she said. Alma gave a tired smile. "I would want someone to help my grandmother too." The taxi drove away. Alma looked at her phone. 9:15. The interview had already started. Was there any reason to go now? Alma almost turned back home. She felt tears burning her eyes. Maybe she had thrown away the best chance of her life. But something inside her said, "Go." So Alma walked quickly toward the company building. When she reached the front door, the guard looked at her dusty clothes. "You are here for the interview?" he asked. "Yes." "You are very late." "I know." Inside, the receptionist looked at Alma with surprise. "The other candidates are already meeting the board." Alma lowered her head. "Can I still wait?" The receptionist sighed. "You can wait, but I cannot promise anything." Alma sat down. Then the door opened. A woman in a blue suit stepped out. "You must be Alma." Alma stood quickly. "Yes, you were called for 9. I am sorry." The woman looked at Alma's dirty shirt and stained trousers. "What happened to you?" Alma wanted to explain. But would they believe her? Alma told the truth. She explained about the old woman, the broken cart, the fruit, and the taxi. The woman in the blue suit did not smile. She only listened. When Alma finished, the woman said, "This company respects time." "I understand," Alma replied. "You knew this interview could change your life?" "Yes." "And you still stopped?" Alma nodded. "I could not leave her in the road." The woman stared at Alma. "Wait here." She returned to the boardroom. Alma sat alone. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. Maybe they were deciding to send her home. Finally, the boardroom door opened. "Come inside," someone said. Alma stood and entered. There were 6 people sitting behind a long table. 5 wore expensive suits. But the chair in the middle was empty. Alma swallowed hard. One man looked at her CV. "Your grades are good." Another woman said, "Your work history is strong." Then the door behind Alma opened. Everyone in the room stood up. Alma turned around. Her mouth fell open. The old street hawker walked into the room. But she was not wearing the dusty wrapper anymore. The woman now wore a beautiful dark dress. Her hair was neat. A gold pin rested near her shoulder. Alma could not speak. The woman smiled. "Please sit," she told everyone. Then she walked to the empty chair in the middle. Alma's knees became weak. The old woman was the board chair. Nobody spoke for several seconds. Then the woman looked at Alma. "My name is Madame Essie Mensah," she said. "I helped build this company 30 years ago." Alma stared at her. Madame Essie continued, "Every year, I meet some final candidates before we choose our new staff. Sometimes I do it from behind this table." She paused. "And sometimes I learn more about people outside this building." Alma suddenly understood. The broken cart had been real. The fall had been real. But Madame Essie had watched how people treated someone they believed was poor. What would she say about Alma? Madame Essie turned toward the board. "Many people passed me today," she said. "Some looked at me. Some laughed. Some were dressed for this same interview." Alma looked around. 2 candidates, sitting near the wall, lowered their heads. Madame Essie continued. But one person stopped. She pointed at Alma. "She knew she might lose this job. She knew she needed the money. Yet she helped me before she helped herself." Alma's eyes filled with tears. Then one board member asked, "Madam Chair, are you saying we should hire her because she helped you?" Madame Essie smiled. "No. Alma's heart dropped. Then Madame Essie picked up Alma's CV. We should hire her because she has the skills we need. Her kindness simply showed us the kind of person behind these papers. Alma covered her mouth. The room became quiet. Madame Essie looked directly at her. Alma, we can teach company rules. We can teach new systems. But it is hard to teach a good heart. Then she asked one final question. Would you like to work with us? Alma began to cry. Yes, she whispered. Yes, I would. Everyone smiled. But Madame Essie was not finished yet. 6 months later, Alma's life had changed. She paid the rent. Kofi returned to school with new books. Alma worked hard every day, but she never forgot the morning that almost made her miss everything. One afternoon, Alma saw a young cleaner struggling to carry a heavy box. Other workers passed him because they were busy. Alma stopped. She helped him carry it. Madame Essie saw them from the other side of the office. She smiled. Alma had learned something greater than getting a good job. A good heart should not disappear after you receive your reward. Kindness is not something we show only when people are watching. Do what is right, even when it may cost you, because the person you help today may change your life tomorrow. Thank you for listening to this story. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button and subscribe so you never miss a new story. And please tell me in the comments, where are you listening from today? I would love to know. Until next time, goodbye.